Okay, let's go.
What is up, everybody? Once again, it's Evan from 22 Fabrications, as you can see, and I want to do a quick video. It's actually a long overdue video regarding the Beta 4 strokes and the in-tank fuel pressure regulator upgrade that I've been recommending for about a year now. I want to do a quick explanation of why we might do it, how we're going to do it, and hopefully a little how-to video. Make sure if you're going to do it, you tackle it safely and without issue. It's not a hard job, but a lot of people are intimidated because they don't know where it is or how to do it. They've never done it before, so I'm going to show you that. But first of all, why would you want to do it? So if you're watching this video, I'm already assuming that you probably have one of the Beta 4 strokes and you've been trying to modify it either for more power or just rideability. Beta does claim rideability as their highest priority, and to be honest, for an out-of-the-box 4-stroke, it's pretty good. You don't have to go buy a standalone ECU to get these things to run. Beta does offer flashes through their dealers, through the Texas software, and it's decent. It's kind of one-size-fits-all. They offer their race map, their open map plus 100, 200 idle, that is RPM, and they work pretty good for most bikes. The problem is some bikes are not one-size-fits-all. Whether you're in a different area, elevation, just different riding style, and maybe the bike's a little bit too lean. So what are your options? Unfortunately, there are not many. Now, I'm hoping, and I have some information that may be changing in the near future, but there's no timeline for that, and unfortunately, there's also no guarantee that any of that's going to work. So what I've been doing for the past year is recommending an upgraded fuel pressure regulator. Now, hopefully, I can be decent at editing and show you that right here. So the reason that this upgraded fuel pressure regulator works is because it pops off releases at 5 psi higher fuel pressure than the factory in-tank regulator. Now, what that does is because it's a mechanical upgrade, the bike doesn't know it, the ECU doesn't know that you've changed it. The ECU is still working as if it were a lower fuel pressure. So when the injector opens, we now have 5 psi extra pressure to push more fuel in. Now, this basically globally richens the air-fuel ratio. Like I said, unfortunately, it's the only option we have at this point, and I have recommended this to many customers. I haven't heard of any failures, any issues. Honestly, I've only heard good things. You just kind of have to determine whether or not you need this. If the bike is a little bit lean, again, I'm not there unless you have an air-fuel sensor. You kind of have to go off a little bit of feel. If you're getting some lean flame outs, some stuttering, you may want to try it. It's a cheap upgrade, worth a shot, and again, it doesn't really hurt the bike unless you're already super rich, which is very rare. So yeah, let's dig into it. I'll show you how we get this process done, hopefully step by step. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, DM me, whatever. Look at my website, www.22fabrications.com. Contact me through that, but let's dig into it. As you probably noticed, my bike is not in the condition that yours is. I have the suspension out for a little bit of service and a little bit of an upgrade. But all the parts that matter for your installation are going to be on this bike, so it should be identical. Obviously, step one, we're going to remove the seat. Press the button on your back here, pop that tab out, slide it back. Get your seat out of the way. Now you're going to remove the negative terminal. Don't lose that little 8mm nut. Tuck that out of the way so it's not going to arc on anything. And then grab a rag. This next part's going to be a little bit difficult to see, but take your rag, you're going to kind of shove it underneath here to catch any excess fuel that comes out. Your quick disconnect for your fuel tank is right here. I've changed some of these clamps in here. I found that they were leaking factory, so I put some just, worm drive fuel clamps in here. Now this is, again, kind of tough to see. I may have to show you outside the tank, but there's a clip on the back of this white part here that you're going to press in. I may need two hands for this, so let's see. Nope, there we go. And you kind of push back. Again, this is tough with just one hand. Need an assistant here. There we go. All right, we're separated. As you can see, a little bit of fuel comes out of the line here, and that's why we put the towel there. All right, move on to the next step. Now we're kind of going to we're going to kind of do this in an abridged way. I'm not going to remove the tank completely out. We're going to kind of do it on the bike because we can. So the next step is going to be this 8mm nut holding the back of the tank, this one holding the plastics onto your radiator, and the same on the other side. So let me put you down and get that done. Give those bolts. As you can see, the tank now starts to move freely. For the next step, I like to have a little piece of wood handy. It's just a little 2x4 sliced off. It's not very long. You'll see why in a moment. So now that the plastics are loosened and the tank can flip up, you're going to start pulling it gently. Now, this fuel line that we released earlier does have to slip up through here. So just be mindful of that. It does kind of come through the frame in the airbox. There you go. There's also an electrical connector. Let me grab you real quick. So here's our fuel line. Here's the electrical connector. It's just a quick, oops, sorry, little tab right there. Pull it down gently, and there we go, released. Now this is where the block of wood comes in handy. Keep taking the tank up a bit, and then I place the wood right underneath. I'm actually going to go this way to give myself even more room to look. Now, this also is going to depend on how much fuel you have in here. I am below the sending unit here, so I don't have to worry about leaks. If your tank is full for some reason, which I don't really recommend doing that, you're going to have to take the tank all the way off, which would just require unplugging the map sensor, or map switch, I'm sorry, taking the breather hose off, and your fuel level sensor if you still have that, which I do not. So that's a step that I may have skipped. If your bike has the fuel level sensor, you're gonna have to unplug that while you're doing this. But now, as you can see, we have 2 bolts and 2 nuts. They are 8mm, and we're gonna remove them. I've moved the rag up here just in case we have any leakage, and now we're gonna remove the nuts. Doesn't really matter what order you do this. And the bolts. Now the way the sending unit works is it's a sandwich, and that's why they have studs to hold the inner part. But you're just going to kind of pull this out, make sure nothing gets caught, and there's your fuel pressure regulator. So at this point, to remove your regulator, you have 2 T10 torque bits. We're going to remove them. All they do is kind of hold the hat of the regulator, if you can see, like the extended edge. The other one, sorry, I'm a little shaky. Please excuse my nasally voice. I've been sick for weeks, it feels like, but still getting through it. So get your little screws out of the way. Now this part, you may need a flathead. Mine's been out. I'm going to grab one just to show. Now keep in mind, this housing is plastic, right? So we got to be super careful not to break anything. I kind of put my thumb in there, just wedge under the hat very gently, work it around, and there she goes. Now this already is my upgraded regulator. Here's your factory one. You can see they look fairly similar. Now, the upgraded regulator, I have not been able to find this version anymore. It's going to come with a nipple on the side. Again, hopefully I can edit that and show you that kind of comes off the side here. This is just your bypass. It works inside of this unit, so we're going to snip that off by whatever means you feel safe. Obviously, remove the O-ring. You may have to use like a little cutoff wheel. If you can do it with side cutters, a little saw, anything, you're just going to take that off, make sure there's smooth edges, no burrs, and it's going to not affect performance, and it's going to go right back in the same way. I'm going to put my upgraded one back in the reverse process. So kind of, again, you may need a little grease, but it shouldn't take a lot of effort, maybe just a little twisting as you go down. Pop that in. There you go. And then get the Torx bits, the Torx screws, and put them back in. I find that with these, because they're screws, you kind of want to start backwards and let it fall into its thread before you go forward. Don't force these. Again, it's just a plastic housing, so don't want to overdo it. No power tools here. Snug them down. Snug it down. Now this part is maybe a tiny bit tricky if it's your first time doing it. Like I said, this part can actually come loose, the inside portion of this. So these studs, you may have to hold it as you're going back in. Just be careful not to basically push the stud into the tank, or else you're going to be fishing it back out. But I like to get that. And then this time you do want to start the nuts first. Again, just so that inside bulkhead does not fall in. Get the bolts going. Again, get these going by hand. Now, I would not recommend a power tool unless you have a lot of experience, which I do. Do this by hand. In fact, I'm just going close, and then I'm going to finish by hand. Again, you don't want to, this is not something you really want to over tighten, strip out, but we do need to make sure that we're not leaking fuel. So I think it's good to just do this by hand, snug it. As you can see, I'm just kind of holding the head of the ratchet. Sorry if you're shaking a lot. I got you on the bike still, but I'm not choking up on the handle and going to town. This is only, a couple inch-pounds of torque. All right, let me get this stuff out of the way and reassemble. So essentially we are reversing the order of taking this out. This plug back here that plugs into your unit over here, the sending unit, is kind of short. So that's kind of the one problem where you're gonna need to have small hands. So let's get this wood block out, start fishing the line. Again, it kind of goes between like your injector and the frame here. So once that comes down a little ways, now you can take your connector, get that in. As you can see, I still have some room before the tank goes down, so it's not super tight, but also keep in mind your plastics, because of the way we did that. Just want to make sure they all kind of fall where they need to go. Push the tank slightly forward because there's two rubber holders up front. There you go. This rear bolt should line up perfectly. If it doesn't, you know you didn't set the tank right. Now, I'm gonna come down here, and again, this quick disconnect should just pop right together. Again, you could put maybe a little bit of grease on the O-ring. This is just so tricky with one hand, but every now and then you can pull off some magic. There we go. Now you want to make sure that seats fully. You should hear it click back together. Boom, there we go. Two hands, that would have been way quicker, but it is what it is. All right, so now we're just gonna get our bolts back in the plastics, the rear of the tank, put your battery back on, and get the seat on. Alrighty. And there we have it. I know it probably looked difficult at sometimes, but holding the camera in one hand, doing something in the other, setting up, filming, it's more difficult than just doing it on your own. Hopefully I made it look somewhat easy. It's not bad. If you have any questions, again, write to me. Again, this is not a power adding modification. The fuel pressure regulator simply adds fuel to the equation where needed. Again, if the bike is running great, you have the open map, you have some modifications, don't do this. It's not needed. It's just going to add fuel where you don't need it, and that's not necessarily a good thing. If you're having some stumbling when you get into the throttle, some flame outs when the bike gets hot, this might help. It's a cheap and easy check at the very least. If you feel like the bike runs worse afterwards, which I haven't heard, take it back out. But yep, that's about it. Once you do go to start, keep in mind we did release fuel from the line, so you're going to prime the bike a couple times before firing it up. Other than that, share, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. Hopefully this summer we'll make some cool riding videos. Over the winter I've just been too busy. 2 kids now and trying to get this business going. It's been a lot. So I appreciate all the support. Keep your eyes open and let me know what you want to see next.